Yep, that was me. Coming out a little too fast out of turn 9. According to most people, the most notorious corner at Willow Springs International Raceway, aka the fastest track in the West. But this happened several years ago. And since then, I've raced at this track a lot. I've won several times and scored podium spots in both of my race cars. So, when I signed up for my last race of the season, the Big Boar Bash with VARA, and I found out it was going to be at Willow Springs again, I thought, piece of cake. I felt super confident. Well, that changed as soon as I entered the racetrack in the morning practice session. For some reason, my trusted Miata had no grip on the track. It felt like I was skating. It was so unsettling, I got off after just 3 laps. Now, because I started off feeling so confident, I hadn't bothered to bring any of my tools along. My first go-to tool in this kind of situation would be my pyrometer. Did I have it with me? No, of course not. All I had was my tire pressure gauge, and then I found out that my tire pressure gauge was defective. I had pumped way too much air in my tires because my tire gauge read them at 31 pounds of pressure, but in reality they were at 40 pounds. Way too much. It felt like I was driving on top of ballooning tires. Get rid of this. My qualification session was coming up real soon. I had to make a decision. Was I going to stay in the race or quit? Heck, I wasn't going to quit. But to make things worse, by the time I got to the registration desk, they had run out of transponders. That's this little device here that keeps track of your lap time and it tells you where you should fit in the starting lineup. So, since they weren't able to clock any lap times for me, they put me all the way at the back of the pack. 27th place out of 27 cars.
What?
All of a sudden, I didn't feel so confident anymore. Alright, even though they put me at the back of the pack, I was gonna race for the win. But going from last to first, was it possible? I didn't care. I was gonna race hard and smart and safely. The cars in front of me are hitting the gas. The green flag must have dropped. The race is on. The white Datsun in front of me is holding me up. The blue Porsche to the right of him is faster. I should have moved in between the two of them. Oh, I see, there's another car in front of the Datsun. I know most of the cars will move to the right side of the track following the racing line, opening up the space in front of me, and fortunately, yes, they do. I had let a lot of air out of my tires before this race, but the car handling did not feel balanced and my tires not grippy enough still. My strategy for now was to move to the more difficult passing line where there were fewer cars, and it gave me a chance to better gauge how my car acted in the turns without worrying about making contact with other cars. Can I pass anybody here? No, I don't think so. Too many of us are bunching up. We'll come to turn 3, the tightest turn on the track. I want to take the inside line now, but out of caution, I lift from the gas a little bit and wait for the green Triumph to take the racing line on the inside before I do. Turn 5 gives me another chance to pass. Something might be up with the Sprite bug eye. It went off the racing line and slowing down. That's usually a signal to the other cars to pass it up. I'm a little surprised I'm passing up the Mercedes-Benz in the straightaway. Thing is, although these cars were built quite a long time ago, many of them have upgraded or modified engines, so they actually are much faster than when they came out of the factory originally. My strength usually is in the sweepers and tight turns, like this sweeper here in turn 8, ending in a notorious turn 9. But it's also the riskiest turn, especially with my tires having less grip and acting unpredictably. So I will have to be extra cautious with the other cars here. Nice exhaust note, Mini Cooper. Several cars are too fast in turn 2, and so one of the few options left for me is to take the advantage in turn 3. I can brake later into the turn and therefore carry more speed through the turn than the other cars. I tried to get to turn 3 before the Austin Healey and take the inside path, but he won't have it and he takes a turn first. I don't fight him for it. I'm definitely more patient and disciplined than usual in this race. I figure I will have more chances later. It looks like he's getting stuck behind a Triumph GT6 and I pass up both of them. I'm trying to time my approach behind a Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. I'm guessing that this car has more horsepower than I do in a straightaway, and I can see the Austin Healey behind us catch up with us again. I'm hoping that the Karmann Ghia will block him a little bit on the left. I miscalculated. The Karmann Ghia comes over to the right, to the racing line, forcing me to slow down, and the Austin Healey passes both of us. Patience, patience. I'm thinking forward to turn 3. I managed to catch up to the left of him on the racing line. In turn 5, I find myself behind a Triumph Spitfire. He's held up a little bit by other cars in front of him, but makes it difficult for me to pass him. And I will be on his heels for almost an entire lap. He gets into a mechanical issue before turn 3. The Spitfire was the last car I managed to pass up in the qualifying race. The remaining frontrunners are so far ahead, they're out of sight. I'll have to deal with them in tomorrow's final flag race. If you're vegan, look away for just a few seconds. Tomorrow, we get serious in the flag race, but tonight, we relax and share food and beer. Yay! Time for the final and deciding flag race. I'm in 6th place on grid after yesterday's qualifying race. Three minutes left before the race. 2. Here we go. I was 4 seconds slower than usual on this track in yesterday's qualifying race. That's an eternity in racing, but it put me exactly in line with the other cars in this group. I would find out later why, but for now, I just had to deal with it in this race and drive a safe distance from the edge of the track and from the other cars. Green flag drops, the race is on. I will use the first lap to figure out the racing styles of the 5 cars ahead of me. I passed the 2 Mini Coopers in turn 2. Now only 3 cars left in front of me. Those 3 were fast. I stayed behind them for a long time, trying different things, but I found no easy way to pass them. I'm hoping that the 3 of them will fight each other off, and in doing so, they'll slow the whole front group down. That might give me a chance to think up an endgame strategy. I found out yesterday that of the 5 cars with the fastest lap times, the fastest of them was only half a second faster than the 5th one. So the remaining cars in this race are very closely matched. This is going to be a tight race. All 3 cars are faster than mine in the straightaways, and I catch up with them every time in the turns. They navigate turn 2 pretty fast, but they are slower in notorious turn 9, so I have to try a lot of my passing there, but with my tires not feeling reliable, I don't want to push it there. I tried to pass the Austin Healey in the 4th lap, but he pushed ahead a little bit coming out of turn 9, and I backed off, not wanting to risk any contact with him there. I pushed my way past him in turn 3 in the next lap. Felt a little bit like the way I passed up the Austin Healey in the qualifying session yesterday. Now I got a Turner Mark III in front of me who defended his position very well. The 5th lap, we're starting to lap some of the other cars in the field behind us. That made it very interesting. We could try to use those cars to create more of a distance between us and our competitors. In the next front straightaway, the Austin Healey, which had been behind us, caught back up with us and passed me up. Similar to how the other Austin Healey had passed me up in the qualifying session yesterday. Kept my cool and wedged myself between him and the Mark III in turn 3 and passed him up for the final time there, just like I did with the Austin Healey in the qualifying session yesterday. Must be something with those Austin Healeys. I made my move on the Mark III in, of course, turn 9 by taking the inside track and passing him up there. From there on, it was chasing the Lotus, who was an excellent defender. Point, I thought I could pass him when he was held up by 2 of the cars he was lapping. It was one of those tight turns that would have been to my advantage, but it was also hard to pass there. I lost him again when we got to the next straightaway. Time was ticking away now. I got caught behind 2 of the other cars we were lapping, which created a big distance between me and the Lotus. Lap number 9, the white flag is out. That means only one more lap left in the race. I've got to make a move somewhere. I got close to him in turn 1. I thought I would catch up with him in turn 2. But he was surprisingly quick in turn 2 again. But I was close enough on him out of turn 2 that I thought for sure I had a good chance to pass him up in turn 3. But oh, traffic in turn 3. The Lotus managed to drop the Carmangia between him and me. Turn 3 to turn 4 is an off-camber elevation in a dicey place to try to make a passing move, but I felt I had no choice, so I passed the Carmangia with as much constant velocity as I could muster. Coming out of turn 4, the Lotus had created a big gap between him and me. My only chance left was turn 9 coming up. Or maybe not. At the end of a race, the tires can get hot and a little too slippery. That's what might have happened to the Lotus. Either way, for me, from here on, it was home scot-free. And I coasted past the finish line. Yeah!